Hello and welcome to today's historic best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video on basically a vehicle rock deck, or mid-range, or whatever term you like to use to call it, or you want to use to call it. The vehicle deck makes use of both existing vehicles and vehicle synergies from past sets like Kaladesh, in the form of T'Pala and Veteran Motorist, and even SRAM and the Speedway Fanatic, as well as some of the newer bits of tech from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty in the form of your hotshot mechanics, your Surge Hacker mech, and even your mech hangers. We also use a general little support class of just good cards and a removal suite, and we have a single frenzy for card draw. Land base, pretty self-explanatory. A red and white mana base that likes to be untapped early on, running some of the channel lands as well as some Ramanov Ruins as a way to squeeze out additional damage on our opponent, and most importantly is the mech hanger allows for fixing for our pilots and vehicles, though really it's more the pilots part, as the particularly good vehicles are colorless. We more so care about some of the pilot abilities here, with T'Pala being a pirate, the motorist, and the speedway fanatic. We also, honestly, it's probably more useful, is the ability for 3 mana and tapping the mech hanger to manually turn on a vehicle. So this sort of functions as a creature land that would exist in most other decks that I would run, and we hope to use some of the better vehicles in the format, in the form of Heart of Kiran and Sky Sovereign here as some of the best ones. Surge Hacker is a little middle of the road, as it largely competes for much of the same utility and function as Sky Sovereign, but Sky Sovereign being legendary, you don't want to have too many in your hand so it doesn't become a totally dead card. And a single copy of Parhelion as a top end helps to cross you over the line and can give you some late game value against more controlling decks. Sideboard, relatively self-explanatory. Thalia for non-creatures. Rip Apart is usually for artifact or enchantment removal, but can also be removal for creatures or walkers if you need them to be. A couple Wrath of Gods should we need a panic button to deal with opposing decks that are going wider than us, like your elves of the format. Some Rest in Peace for some graveyard hate, as it's a very relevant thing in our format. Rampaging Ferocodon against the absolute plethora of life gain decks that are floating around, and 2 Chandras for additional 2 extra little slots that you can bring in against control decks to hopefully try and match their value, as while this deck does try and run the line between creature aggression and late game like value, a control deck can often generate more, and that's when Chandra comes in. And that is the basics of the deck tech. We'll go now to game number 1. In game number 1 with our little red-white vehicles deck, again we go first because we have a brain in our skull. A lot of lands in hand, but there is enough to do with the motorist in the absence that we'll go ahead and keep it. It's not the greatest hand, and I'm not over the moon about it, but it's well enough. See what our opponent is doing. Forest into a Llanowar Elves tells me basically nothing. I guess the real question is, we'll go ahead and, we'll play the motorist, since the Llanowar Elves doesn't tell us anything. Let's see. Well, honestly, that's pretty good. Basically lines up our curve for the next few turns. See what our opponent does. If nothing else, we can always just remove something they happen to play if it's particularly scary. Okay, some Ghoul aggro, Ghoul Shamans. Ghoul aggro. Chooses not to attack, which is a choice. We have to use the absence on the Spellbreaker. Since it got the counter, we can no longer kill it with a Lightning Helix. Go ahead and attack and apply some pressure. In games 2 and 3, we are going to have to play the Ash. The more controlling of the two. I guess we'll still go ahead and Surge Hacker the Land War Elves. Just try and get rid of some pressure here. The real question is, I don't think we're going to block the Questing Beast, as we have sufficient life total to sort of weather it. Now, if they remove our Veteran Motorist, they will have taken the ability to choose off the table, as their little hovering is telling us. They are also appear to just be, you know, examining the cards, which is totally understandable. Attack with the Questing Beast. Again, I believe we go ahead and let it through. See what our opponent does on the second main. Okay. Crushes the Motorist. Okay, so just a old school dual aggro. Honestly, not terribly insurmountable. I believe we'll go ahead and Paula here. And we're just going to Lightning Helix the Voltaic Brawler immediately. Again, I actually think we might be able to just let that through. Well, maybe not. Maybe we actually throw the Paula under it. And here's the question. Another ramen up from our opponent. 2 cards in hand, access to a Bone Crusher and a Clue. You know, I think we will actually let the damage go. I think we have the ability to do so. We'll Spellbreaker. That'll do it. $1,000,000 question is, do we play, well, okay, if I play the Fanatics, I think we need to play the Fanatics, since we can, in theory, throw some under the Spellbreaker, should we need to. Go ahead and play this out. They crack their Clue for a card. Believe if our opponent attacks with a Questing Beast, we'll go ahead and just take the trade. So the Questing Beast, and even the real Spellbreaker, if all they attack with is that, both represent sufficient damage that we need to now actually devote resources to. Actually, not dying. Opponent is a little bit in the tank. Attacks with both. Gonna go ahead and crew probably Speedway and a Paula. See if we can get something useful off the top. Go ahead and pay 1, see what we get. Actually might block the spell. Well, nah. Can block the Questing Beast. We'll let the Spellbreaker through. Death Touch on the Questing Beast does mean we lose the mech. Burning Tree Emissary from our opponent, likely into the Bone Crusher they've been sitting on. Oh, another Spellbreaker, and then maybe? Okay, Bone Crusher, so we have a full board now. Art of Kiran is not... Kiran, sorry, is not the best for what we're wanting to do. but we can actually make something happen with this. We can crew the hearts with our Depala here, and also use Depala's ability to make or hopefully get us some cards. See what they attack with. If they have something like an Embercleave, we just die and we have to accept some certain realities. Go ahead and pay 3, see what we can find. Got a Parhelion, which is something. We will block the Spellbreaker and block the other Spellbreaker. Our opponent might very well be able to push through. And then, oh, I didn't do the... Okay, I don't think there was a combat math way around not dying to a Ramana, but I still maintain that it was a respectable play. Isn't that right, Carmen? Hi, honey. Yeah, sometimes you just get out aggro. We will likely have to play the more controlling role here in game number 2. Take the form of Wrath of the Gods all day long. Okay, Motorists aren't that great. Hot Shot isn't that great, and maybe one Peace Walker. It's a little weird. Also bring in some Ripple Parts, as it is technically more controlling tools. A lot of their board and a lot of their deck actually so far doesn't really die, as they have shown a fondness for playing the Spellbreaker with the counter on it, so we're not going to bring in the Chandra. If they A, we don't attack chords in this house, you little brown goober. Yeah, come hang out with Dad. Let Dad eat making a little video. Again, you're not going to look all longingly at this particular little chord. I don't care if it's bouncing and looks oh so delighting and inviting. There are very few rules that Dad holds you to. And not attacking chord is on that list. Again, game number 2, go ahead and play first because we have a brain. 3 lands, 4 spells. Also having one of our tech cards is very huge. We'll go ahead and play the Seat of the Empire here. It's not worth it to hold it back for any potential channel usage. Go ahead and throw out the Fanatic, just try and get a sense of what our opponent's doing. Opponent has a Den and a Lair of the Hydra. Let's see if they can do some particularly degenerate stuff with their Burning Trees. Burning Tree into another. Still floating 2 mana. Likely has something to do. A Scavenging Ooze? I mean, okay, I guess. Do what feels right. We'll go ahead and play a Plains here. While we can't crew the Heart of Kirin, we can always let it sit there and be something we can turn on in the late game. If our opponent attacks, we will happily give away a trade here. We're more so looking to preserve life total and turn the corner as it is than to do anything else. See if our opponent is willing to make certain trades or they believe otherwise. You can't have an Embercleave because Embercleave is 2 red. Go ahead and block the Scavenging Ooze as it represents the most damage on the board. Really, why would you bring in a Scavenging Ooze and a Magnet Spread? Whatever. Deck is weird to me, but do what you feel is right, I suppose. Suppose the real question is, do we Fateful Absence in hopes they, like, overdevelop their board? I think we will, yeah, I think we'll Fateful Absence the Scavenging Ooze, again representing the, in theory, most damage on the board. comfortable with them having cards at this stage, so we, don't die. Doing more or less what we were hoping they'd do is very nice. I think we'll, as much as I don't like the thought of it, we're just going to go ahead and pull the trigger on the Wrath immediately. It would be great to get more value out of it, but I don't think we're in a strong enough position to really gamble being down again. On Crop Crasher. Well, that's dramatically not helpful. They can... Oh. Bye, Caramel. Dad loves you. Again, we're going to go ahead and play all of our lands each turn, wanting to be able to play the Parhelion. To my original point, they can exert the Crasher here. Oh, that's brutal. He didn't? Yeah, I take that block all day. I don't know if that was the right play. But it won't matter if I don't have the ability to do anything about it. Which is cool, I guess. We die to a lot here. Yeah, we might literally just die. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just Lightning Helix their face. Try and stall for a turn. One of the points that I will talk about briefly here, that I will also be loosely talking about in the little write-up that usually occurs these. Oh, that's brutal. Oh well. Is that without Smuggler's Copter from original Kaladesh, as we only have the remaster in the set, Smuggler's Copter did a lot to serve as card draw for this type of deck in Menace past. Go ahead and just let our opponent win. They've won totally fair and square. And not having a vehicle that can reliably draw you cards, or these filthier draws, say in the case of the Smuggler's Copter, only allow you to loot, the loss of that is very, very severe in helping the consistency of this deck. And of course, I could be building wrong, and of course there's user error, but I just would like to also deposit that in addition to my own failings in both piloting and construction, there are some nuts and bolts pieces that are missing to make this the power that it was in a standard of long ago, but also standard success is no indication of success in his eternal formats like historic. Anywho, on to game number 2. Game number 2 with our red-white vehicles deck. Again, we go first because we have a brain. 5 lands and 2 spells is not great, but it's better than the alternative personally, so we'll go ahead and keep it. Go ahead and Sacred Foundry on 1. See what our opponent is going to do. The Black Lotus pet is a little weird. Okay, a Temur Triome tells me basically nothing that I can do really. There's no information I can practically use. It could be some Temur deck. These usually show up in 5-color Niv decks. But Rupture Spire doesn't do that usually. So, what little ideas I might have had about their deck are quickly dissipating. Hopefully it'll be just a brew versus a brew, which I do enjoy. Force from our opponent. Then a whopping load of nothing? Okay. We're going to go ahead and play the Surge Hacker, even though we aren't going to get any mileage out of the damage effect. Get the fuck out of here. That's got Mirror Shell crabbed. Alright. First time I've had that card used against me. I don't know if that card is good, but god damn if it's not cool. Alright. Some sort of Temur Reanimator deck, I guess? Alright. We'll go ahead and play the Motor set. try and find something a little more useful off of the motor's scry function or ability. We don't need more, however. I prefer to actually find stuff to do. Go ahead and attack. They could be sitting on other mirror shell crabs. Is the only thing that I can assume. Huh. Is it, I guess you call it like a teamer channel list? I don't know if it's good, but I'm all about this deck. I don't care if we win or lose this game. Hopefully this game goes all the way. It's one brew versus another. Can't really ask for more. Biting the old gods from our opponent. Kills our motorist, which is fine. It's not really worth using an apparition on a binding. It's just not. As only the first chapter is the one you really need to be too concerned with. We're kind of spinning our wheels a little bit. I think we might just play an apparition for the body. I'm going to submit 0 because I actually don't want them to, in theory, get a 4-drop from the apparition's ability should he kill our little core spirit boy. Is it any spell or ability? This is phase 3. Kicking a null priest, getting back a colossal sky turtle. What in the okay? I'm fascinated. Guess we'll go ahead and we're gonna sky cleave away their null priest. Ward 2, so we're gonna attack with both. Hopefully he goes to block with the Sky Turtle. At which point we will Lightning Helix the Sky Turtle. Confirm. Pay the extra 2. Again, I don't know if our opponent's deck is good. Or even if ours is good, but goddamn, this is what I really enjoy about Magic. And honestly, if I had to be truly honest with myself and others, the health of the format is honestly in a pretty good space. What else? Oh, he's getting back the Sky Turtle. That's right. I'm so fascinated. I guess we can just start turning on Ramenup Ruins. As with all the Ramenups in our deck, we're basically sitting on 8 damage for free, eventually. Honestly, probably need to kill the Null Priest. They can only kill 1, but the Menace on the Null Priest does mean we have to block with 2. Let's see what our opponent wants to do. They can even counter the ability. God, this card's kind of cool. This might actually be, like, a genuine force. Might not be the top tier card in the metagame, but it's... I imagine you're going to see some more of it. A mana leak that can also be a body. There's nothing to scoff at.
The moon looks intriguing.
What are you, Tammy? What are you doing? Okay, I'm... Okay. Taking back his binding. I think we just kind of die. I think we do. That's so weird. I guess we'll attack the Tameo. Worst case, he blocks it and we get rid of the token. Yeah. At this point, we're just looking to gain health where we can actually manage to get it. I don't even know what's a run against our opponent. It's only 4, it won't even kill the Sky Turtle, so there's no point in having a cow about this. Let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, so we need 1 more. Although, to be honest, if I have to eat up a Ramanop to get rid of their mirror shell... Okay. While yes, their deck is cool, it's also kind of just a pile of cards. So I can't really do that much with the information that I know. Might very well choose to mirror shell. Nope, that's not what's happening. Paula's not bad. If they go to... They don't care. Okay. Alright. We die. Almost certainly. This is fascinating. I suppose... Okay, there's a Chupacabra. Okay. So, Reanimator... As Reanimator bits... Not in the ways you'd think. So, go ahead and channel and make him get rid of the mirror shell in his hand if he values the scavenger that much. Yeah, I don't think there's anything we do to live here. That is goddamn fascinating.
I know
Okay.
I noted this somewhere.
Going for another null priest. What are you gonna do? Again, it's one of these losses that I totally don't mind, as it's just one silly little brew against another. The real question is, what do we bring in the sideboard? Because they have a good mix of creatures and non-creatures, so it's not a Thalia. Maybe a Rip Apart? That might actually not be that bad, as there's a good amount of enchantment creatures, so Rip Apart can come in. Maybe a couple Wrath of Gods. Peace Walker's not that good. Motorist isn't that good. Mechanics aren't. Maybe get rid of one Speedway Fanatic. Maybe put in like a Chandra. Same thing with another Chandra. Get rid of a Skyclave. The deck is goddamn fascinating. I always do enjoy going up against other people who just like to brew and do goofy shit. I know. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead, of course, you know, try my hardest, but I'm a little concerned that our opponent's brew might be better than ours. I really want Beagles to be good, but I just feel like it's not quite there. And it might take some extra sets to get to that point. Could be wrong. Hopefully I am. But I would be remiss not to point that out. Let's see, 2 temples from our opponent. Guess we'll go ahead and play Pathway on Red. Why not? To see what our opponent does. Try and respond accordingly, as I never really faced a deck like our opponent is running, so it's a little hard to properly read it. There's a Sky Surge, or Surge Hacker, whatever the hell it's called. It's too close to Sky Sovereign in name, it messes my brain up. I guess we can Mech Hanger. Just pass and see what our opponent does. Little concerned about that. Another temple from our opponent. Both haven't really done a whole lot. Might actually run the mech here to hopefully... I'm sorry, he didn't have a mirror shell? I was convinced that's what was happening. I mean, that's something. To be fair, that is in fact an option for our opponent. If nothing else, next turn we can always mech hanger, activate the mech here. Never mind, the mech's not long for this one. So we didn't do exactly what I wanted to. We kind of got to that point in a very roundabout way. Now realizing it was in fact the correct move to cut one of the Skyclaves. Might have been smart to cut even more of them, as our opponent's deck, Shiloh's Null Priest, don't really have much in the way of targets. But I was more so hoping to like find or get more information about the deck. So I can totally recognize that probably keeping at minimum 2 in is what I probably should have done. In reality, I might needed to have cut them out altogether. We'll go ahead and play the Depala. Our opponent doesn't seem to have any removal in what is crapping over or crapping on all of my preconceptions about our opponent's deck here. Okay, he's around this Chupacabra. We can do something with that. We might actually Skyclave that. As we might need to Lightning Helix like a Tameo or something. Well, maybe not actually. No, we'll go ahead and, well, yeah, we'll go ahead and Skyclave. We'll keep our original plan here. Go ahead and play the Skyclave, as they don't appear to have any mirror shells. Play a Motorist, see what we can find. Hopefully find some sort of usefulness. A Wrath is nice, as I don't think our board is likely very long for this world. And a 5-attack board is nothing to scoff at. Opponent gets rid of the Motorist. Alright. We'll go ahead and wait till their end step to remove it with our... Yeah, we'll go ahead. Yeah, we'll remove it with a Lightning Helix. Seems a little weird to me that he got rid of the Motorist, but I guess he's just that scared of any mechs I might have waiting in the wings. Which is, to be fair, I mean, is a genuine concern. As if I can get, you know, 1 or 2 mechs and a bare minimum support structure to them, I can make something happen. See what our opponent does now. Frenzy is actually not that bad. We can afford to take a turn off here. We'll go ahead and tap. That was the correct call. We can afford again to take a turn or 2 off. We can always activate our Heart with our first mech hanger if we need to next turn to act as an impromptu defense. We are going to take some damage here. That's just part of the game right now. Springleaf Adventure. Okay, what the hell is Heart? Combat damage, return target permanent from graveyard to play. Okay, okay. That's crazy to me. I mean, credit given to him. They have basically got my number. For the Heart, honestly, probably a very good play. We'll go ahead and Swam. We can use a Fateful Absence on the Springleaf here. Oh, good. Another Swamp. I think we'll go ahead and break the Frenzy here. Again, our Strom is probably not going to live till the next turn with the Chupacabra in their hand. We'll see if they develop anything bigger than that that might actually be worthy of eating a Wrath of God. To be honest, if he attacks with the Illusion first, we totally chump block, as we're trying just desperately to not die. Yes, 100%. All day long. Second main, gonna do anything in particular? Drop is honestly pretty useful. Okay, that is panic time. Hit the button. Again, the Shram will not live long enough, odds are, to see anything happen, but we need to make him use the removal spells he has in hopes that he will eventually just run out of them. But if he makes the spiders, we can... Okay, but that's not actually that miserable. We can go ahead and rip apart the Spider Queen here. And honestly, probably rip apart their Chupacabra. Again, we're just in, like, try not to die mode. We're gonna go ahead and keep our Ramen up right now. We're not really in a position to race, we're just trying not to die against our opponent's pile of cards. Null Priest back, probably a Muldrotha. And that's totally 100% the correct play to do. Don't progress the ball. Playing a lot with again. I believe we lose. I think we need exactly a Wrath of God to not die. Maybe one of the removal vehicles. Yeah, that might actually somewhat be enough. Fucking that. I think it actually isn't enough because he uses a Muldrotha to get back his Ravenous Chupacabra. Alright, our opponent has just won the day fair and square. There's nothing I can do to remove this, so I guess... Yeah, let our opponent win. They have done 100% a fantastic job. I can't really determine... I mean, there's like bits of Reanimator in that deck, but there's also loads of non-affiliated cards that are their glue holding it together. But again, I don't mind losing this. Again, I'm sorry, what are you doing? Oh, he couldn't... Yeah, right, it has to be a creature first. My brain... Wait, didn't he have... Doesn't he have... Why didn't he binding that? Oh, okay, he had a... Wait, what? Oh. Hang on, what the fuck are you doing?
My power is for annihilation.
You had that. I mean, spoiler alert, he still has it, and he's probably going to win this turn. That's just weird because he totally had it. Oh, okay. Now it's actually a game, and it's not even a pretend. So we'll go ahead and go out like a gentleman. Now, we sort of talked about this already, but I'm going to kind of go to the deck screen here and talk about this for a minute. I'm going to, like, also talk about this in the write-up if you don't really, if you're just here for, like, the actual meat and potatoes. But this deck is almost really... It has, like, very sincere and very severe... Not severe. Yeah, sincere, that's the word. Potential, but it's just, like, not quite there, and I'm not entirely certain, like, where could I have done? Maybe it's a lack of card draw, but it's like, okay, well, what do you cut for the card draw? I mean, it's very, very weird. And I guess it's my fault for trying to mesh old versions of the list with new cards available. I might need to sacrifice, or if you're at home wanting to make this deck, you might need to sacrifice some of the more, you know, fun bits to get this deck to go anywhere. This deck, to be fair, did get me from Platinum to Diamond, but man, Diamond feels like a bit of its plateau, which is not a bad plateau to hit. But anywho, thank you all for watching. Remember to like the video if you liked it, sub if you like my content and would like to see more in the future, and I shall see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.